Fantastic. 100% agree. How about the last one? Hmm.
So the last one is one of my favorite adjectives in a professional environment, and it's driven. I am driven. We can even say I have drive. Yes, the exact same word as the verb conducir, to drive. So, hello, and welcome everybody. We're back again, myself, Chris, and my co host, Lewis. And today we're going to talk about business English. So, for anybody who wants to improve their English specifically for their job, today will hopefully be a really useful episode for you guys. So, Lewis, how you doing? How's everything going?
Not bad, not bad. I've just recorded some videos for a new YouTube video. And yeah, I just managed to finish it before coming here. And now I've prepared myself my usual little espresso. So then I'm ready for my evening classes after this. And yeah, all good. It's a bit overcast, a bit cloudy here in Brussels, but you know, it's that time of year. So we've got to get used to it.
Yeah, we're still quite lucky here in Gijón. We've still got blue skies, sunshine. It is a bit chilly, as you can see. I am wearing a hoodie, but yeah, it's still as long as there's bright blue sky and sunshine. I don't mind if it's a bit chilly because you still can feel the sun on your face, on your skin. So yeah, I love it.
Perfect. And tell me, Chris, have you been teaching many classes this week or last week? Have you been busy with classes?
Last week less, yeah. I don't know why, but last week maybe a lot of people wanted to have a break from me or from English. I don't know, but yeah, but no, yeah. This week is back to normal. Really good expressions. Same old. Like lo mismo de siempre. Yeah, classes in the morning, classes in the evening. Making some videos just like yourself. So yeah, same old, same old. How about you? How's the teaching schedule going for you at the moment?
Pretty good, the usual, as you said, same old, same old. I've got busy evenings, but relatively calm mornings. So that's when I try to take advantage of my free time or make the most of free time. Remember, aprovechar, take advantage of or make the most of. And yeah, all good, to be honest. But one thing is slightly depressing.
Okay,
Boss.
can't wait to hear this. Yeah.
Um, you might be able to relate to it. Let's see. Because this morning I woke up at 7:30 to teach an 8 a.m. class. And for the last 6 months, more or less, well, it's been light outside at that time. And this morning, when my alarm went off, when my alarm sounded, it was pitch black,
Oh,
completely dark. So, of course, this weekend, the clocks are going to change. So then it will be a little bit lighter in the morning, but it means that it will get darker in the evening. So this is the depressing thing about days getting shorter and shorter.
yeah. I'm very interested. One of the most common questions in English every 6 months, you will hear every native speaker use this question or ask this question is, did the clocks go forward or did they go back? I can never
No,
remember.
no.
Yeah, do the clocks go forward or did they go back? I think they're going forward. Yeah, because if it's getting darker earlier, then it means the clocks go forward this next week.
I don't even know. These like random things, as we clarified earlier.
No,
e-
back. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's back because the sun goes down earlier. Yeah, the sun sets earlier. So that means the hour is brought forward, which is a really good business phrasal verb as well, to adelantar, to bring forward. Yeah, so the hour is being brought forward. That makes sense. Yeah.
You see, I was about to say, our brains don't really work in this way. As we clarified, we're not really mathematicians. We don't think in a very scientific way. So as you were saying it, I was like wanting to help you, but I was like, I have no idea. I don't know. Beats me.
Beats me. Yeah, it's a really common, I think, every native speaker, every 6 months. Do the clocks go forward or do they go back? I don't know. Yeah.
Do we gain an hour's sleep or do we
Yeah.
lose an hour's sleep?
That's what everybody cares about. Yeah. Do we get one more hour of sleep or lose one more hour of sleep?
Wait. Now, let's focus on business English because you perfectly linked it with that phrasal verb, which was to bring forward. And when speaking about schedules, about calendars and meetings, you can bring forward a meeting if you move it sooner than planned. However, the opposite would be to push back a meeting. So, an example would be that, let's say, I have a meeting tomorrow at 12 o'clock, but I receive an email now from a student saying, can we bring forward the meeting and have it at 9 o'clock? Or they might send me an email and say, can we push back the meeting and have it at 3 o'clock? So there we have bring forward, make sooner, and push back to make later than anticipated.
Yeah, it's very confusing because obviously bring forward, people hear the preposition forward, so it does make sense that it means later. But no, English, as we very well know, is not that easy. So it actually means, as you said, to be closer to the present,
Mhm.
sooner. So yeah, but the bring forward can confuse a lot of learners. Yeah.
So tell us about some other business phrasal verbs because phrasal verbs are everywhere in English, but we have some specific ones for business English as well. So which ones come to mind?
So I think the first one that comes to mind, as you mentioned, very specific to business. This is not something you would usually use in social contexts, is to run by or to run something by. We can always say the subject in between, to run something by a person. What does it mean? To get approval or get advice. In español sería consultar, probablemente, creo es
Mhm.
la traducción más cerca. Yeah, so let me give you an example. I just want to run the project by the manager before submitting it. It's just ask the manager for advice. Hey, is this okay? Is there anything you want me to change? Any improvements? That's to run something by your manager to seek approval or even advice. It doesn't have to be approval, yes or no. It could just be advice or feedback. So I think I can't imagine a scenario where you would say, I need to run my dinner plans by my friends. It's not very common socially. So yeah, I think that's the most business-like phrasal verb that I can think of. What about you? Any other examples of very business phrasal verbs?
I don't know exactly if it's very businessy, but I want to just, link it with what you said. And let's imagine that you are running something by me, and I say, sorry, sorry, Chris, I'm a bit tied up. I'm a bit tied up, which means I'm busy, I'm preoccupied, I'm doing something else. So then I could say, just hold on, just hang on, which means wait, and I will get back to you later, which means to respond with more information or an answer later. So there we have, well, four phrasal verbs
Yeah, yeah.
for the price of one. The first one is to be tied up, which means to be busy. Then I said hang on or hold on, which means to wait. And I'll get back to you later. I will reply to you later. Whew.
Yeah. Wow. And then one more, show off, presumir. Lewis is showing off his knowledge of business phrasal verbs right now. Yeah, Lewis, do you know any? Let me just list off four or five like that. Yeah.
I couldn't resist. As you were saying
Yeah.
it and you were telling this story, I was like, oh, I could link it with this
Yeah.
one, and this one. So yeah, sorry for showing off a little bit.
No, so I think it's valuable for the listeners, and that's what's important. Yeah.
Now, we might return and go over some more business phrasal verbs, but Chris, do you ever teach specific business English classes? And business English, like, how would you kind of describe it? Because I'm a bit skeptical if business English actually exists? What do you reckon?
A really good point. I've never actually thought of it like that, but I would probably agree with you. I think the first thing I would like to mention is the schedule and the timetable of business English is the worst because, as you mentioned, it's 8 a.m. because we need to teach the class before they start work at 9 a.m. So the scheduling of business English is horrible.
Mhm.
Well, I say horrible. I'm very lazy and I love sleeping, so it's horrible for me. But yeah, I have taught business English. I do think there is maybe a different structure to the classes. But now that you asked that question, I don't think there is any real massive difference. It's communicating in English, it's expressing your ideas. I think the only business specific things I would teach would be the phrasal verbs, maybe idioms, and acronyms, I think would be very important. But other than that, yeah, I think it's really just about being confident and expressing your ideas clearly, which is no different to a social context.
No, absolutely. I think it's all about communication at the end of the day. And the reason I asked you this question is because I used to get a lot of students who would specifically say, I want a business English course or I want business English classes. And I tried to tell them, okay, perfect. We can speak about meetings, speak about presentations, speak about finance, speak about HR, speak about all of these businessy topics, which of course each topic has its own vocabulary, and business is the same, of course, with acronyms, phrasal verbs, financial words. But some students will think that business English is like a completely different topic, when of course anybody who speaks English works, so then they use the same language at the same time. So maybe I like to be a bit of a contrarian and I like to be business English, it's just English with business topics. That's it.
Yeah, I've never thought of it like that. But when you put it like that, when you explain it in that way, when you put it like that, it really does make sense. It's just a different topic. It's no different than English for shopping or English for exercise. It's just English for business. It's the same language, just with some different topics, some different vocabulary, but the connectors, the sentence remains the same.
Exactly. Now, I'm kind of into business, by the way. Be into means to be interested in or to like something. But yeah, I kind of like business and I like speaking about business and work. Um, are you interested in it as well? Are you into it too?
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. Again, nothing against the businesses or the people working in the businesses, but I do find it very formal. Again, I think just the idea of business English, when you hear business English, it does give it that formality, that environment and of feeling or vibe of kind of, okay, I need to be a bit more formal. And for anyone who's watched these podcasts or for anyone who's seen my videos on Instagram, they know I am the opposite of formal. I'm very informal. I like to make jokes. I like to explain, maybe the bad English, let's say, the swear words, not for fun, but because I think they are important. They are used in informal English. So I think maybe it's just preference. But yeah, I much prefer the more informal style. But I have taught business English again, like it's acronyms, yeah, presentations, meetings, things like that. Would you
And
would you have a preference, do you think, or
I mean, I like speaking about finance and business, but I don't like focusing specifically on somebody's meeting or
okay?
specifically on someone's presentation. That can get a little bit tedious at times, but of course, I adapt to all of my students, of course.
Yeah.
But no, we are freelancers at the end of the day. We are self employed teachers, which is why during the last year in particular, I've become more and more interested in the world of work and business because it directly implicates me. It directly has a knock on effect on me, which is why my level of interest, I suppose, is going up and up.
I think I should be more interested because that's a very good point. Yeah, but I just can't. I'll just use ChatGPT. Just summarize all these news articles for me. Yeah, I just don't have any. I've never had any interest in money or politics. Money, the topic, money, the object. I have lots of interest in, but yeah, like finance, let's say, politics. Yeah, no, I've just never really been interested in it. Unfortunately, yeah.
Great. Now, slightly unrelated, but before we started recording, a random video popped up, phrasal verb, popped up to appear on my feed on Instagram. And it was about how nowadays people depend so much on ChatGPT. And I'll set the scene for you where this guy walked into some corner shop and the other guy behind the counter, he had his phone ready and the other person had his phone ready and it was like what do I say, what do I say? So asking ChatGPT, I've just walked in a corner shop and I want something but I don't know what I want, and then it would give the response. So then he would say whatever ChatGPT would tell him, and then the
No.
person behind the till would be like, a guy just walked in and he's asking for milk. What do I do? So
So this
then
in the same language. This isn't like a translation. This is in the same language.
it was it was a sketch. So it was a bit of
Oh, I
a
see.
funny comedy sketch where you had two people showing how much we depend on artificial intelligence now.
Got it.
And you're not sure what to say. It's just like, ChatGPT, help me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, do you
I
ever?
thought this was a real scenario you were
No, no, no,
describing. I
no,
was
no,
like,
no.
no, we've reached that level now. Like, I thought that might be in 100 years' time. Don't tell me we've already reached that level.
Do you worry about this? That now we depend on AI so much?
A little bit, yes, but I think our audience base is always going to prefer the human touch of teaching. So I think for us as teachers, it's going to be very difficult in the future to get younger learners. Even today, my demographic, my biggest demographic is 30 to 40 or 30 to 50. I have very few Instagram followers or students from 18 to 30. So you can already, maybe it's just me, maybe young people don't like me, I don't know, but maybe it is an indicator that, yeah, even young people nowadays are using human teachers less because of all the AI opportunities for learning English. I don't know. Well, what's your opinion on this?
I mean, it's tough. I think younger people in general in Spain, for example, they speak better English than people who are in their 40s, 50s, etc. So that's maybe one factor. But
That's one of the benefits of the British invasion. Yeah, like we're all living in your country, but look how the English level has risen. Yeah, you're welcome, Spain. Yeah.
there you go. Perfect. Not needing it anymore. But I mean, with AI, I think obviously people use AI so much nowadays that it does make some jobs disappear. And of course, other jobs will reappear or be born and be created from this opportunity. But yeah, feel like even just myself, I'll ask ChatGPT so many questions where previously I might have actually stopped and thought myself and tried to figure out the answer. So I'm depending on it so much, and I don't think I'm the only one. I think this is a wider thing that's happening all over the world.
Oh yeah. The other day I asked, okay, I've got chicken, I've got pasta, like what can I make? And I could have done this in my own head. I could have opened the fridge. Okay, I could make chicken and pasta. I could make, I don't know, lasagna or whatever. But no, I just asked ChatGPT, what can I make for dinner? Gave it a list of all the stuff I have, and it gave me some ideas. And yeah, it's crazy.
Like magic.
I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love it.
And have you ever used ChatGPT for like advice for job interviews, for example?
Not for job interviews, but I would recommend it, definitely. I think obviously we're going to talk about job interviews in a second. And I think, using ChatGPT, A, to get more vocabulary in English, which is something we're going to talk about in a second, but B, to practice. I think ChatGPT now has a good enough level where you can practice speaking to ChatGPT, program ChatGPT to ask you questions relevant to the job role. So, yeah, I think it's a great way to practice. I don't know. I mean, the last job interview I had was maybe with you, like, like a couple of years ago, I think. So, I don't know about you. When was the last time? Would you recommend using it for job interviews? Have you used it before?
I haven't used it for job interviews myself because I haven't had any for such a long time. But like, I think it's so powerful, and it's great to practice a job interview to get advice on what to put in your CV, also what vocabulary to use. If you need to rephrase certain emails, it's great to help you in that way as well. And yeah, the fact that you can speak to the machine and kind of rehearse and train yourself beforehand can only do good things.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, this is a great segue, a great opportunity which connects our two conversations. I think today we were going to talk about job interviews, the best vocabulary to describe yourself, and also maybe some of our best or worst interviews. Should we maybe start with the best and worst interviews? I think that'll be more fun. So, would you like to tell us about maybe your best or maybe your worst job interview?
Well, I
Don't say with me 2 years ago because that will really hurt my feelings.
nah, of course not. Come on. But I mean, my let's consider it as a candidate. So, of course, I have been an interviewer for quite a long time, but we'll skip that for today and focus on being the interviewee or the candidate. And I remember, well, the first one I had to be an English teacher in Seville. I remember it was a little bit intimidating, or at least I didn't feel very comfortable. And, well, I got the job in the end, so it must have been okay, or they were really, really desperate. Um, but it was a little bit stressful, and I remember my cheeks went bright red, and I had to shake the guy's hand, and my palms were really, really sweaty. And then he was asking me about my experience, and I was like, mate, like, I've just finished uni. Like,
Yeah.
I've never been a teacher. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I've been a teaching assistant. I like languages. I'm English. It seemed like maybe the interviewer wasn't very prepared because he didn't know my CV. And at the same time, the interviewer wasn't making any jokes or making any friendly comments. So it wasn't very welcoming for me. And that's what made me get a little bit sweaty, my cheeks
Yeah.
bright red. I remember it being a little bit embarrassing, and I walked out at the end thinking like, "Oh, that was horrible. Well, I'll keep looking for another job." But they offered me a job. It wasn't a great job, but it was probably the most uncomfortable interview I've ever had, just because of the vibe. Just the vibe
Yeah.
all off.
And you feel it as soon as you walk into the interview room, you can feel that vibe. If they're smiling, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" You get, okay, you feel a bit more relaxed. But if it's very stand up, shake my hand, stern face, which is stern, a very good adjective to mean serious face. A very stern face. It gives off a bad vibe. Not a bad vibe, sorry, but like, yeah, a very serious vibe, which
Mhm.
makes you feel the pressure. Yeah.
And how about you? Have you ever had any nightmare interviews?
Well, maybe not nightmare interview, but the thing I want to talk about was, so I passed my interview, but I was now on a training program which I could fail. So maybe not necessarily an interview, but there was still the possibility that I fail the training program and don't get the job. And this was in China, where I was teaching English to 3, 4, 5-year-old kids. So not necessarily a nightmare, but very uncomfortable and very funny because the other teachers on the training program were pretending to be the children. So I'm talking to a guy from South Africa who's like 6'5", like looking up at him, just going, can you run to red? Where's red? Where's red? Like, and it's like, this guy's like, much bigger than me, really much. Like, where's red? Where's red? So it's really embarrassing and uncomfortable. But obviously, everybody passed because when you're an adult acting as a kid, you do what you're told. Can you put this in the box? Yeah, done. What's next? So everybody, but it was very different. Sorry, actually teaching 3, 4, 5 year olds. Can you run to red? What? Oh, okay, yeah. These guys aren't English speaking adults. Okay, yeah.
I mean, it
So yeah,
sounds fun and it's a story to tell. Like, I've never actually taught kids properly. Like, as a teaching assistant, yes, but never actually being in charge of a group of 30 kids screaming and shouting. But I don't know if I'd be able to handle it. Like, were you able to stay sane at the same time?
not at all. No, no. Obviously you can't blame the kids. They're kids. They're 5 years old. They want to run around and play and watch Frozen. So it was very difficult to keep their attention. Yeah. And I prefer teaching grammar and phrasal verbs and idioms, but with kids, it's red, blue, and it's yeah, it's very difficult as a teacher. So yeah, lovely kids, but no, the job wasn't for me. I actually left China, moved to Spain, and that's where I've been ever since. Yeah, teaching adults. Yeah,
I think it's a step up, it's an upgrade.
100%. Yeah.
Now,
Uh,
we're gonna go over some adjectives that can be used to describe yourself because I don't know about you, but usually the question that people will ask you and that I used to ask first when I was interviewing people was, tell me about you. Describe yourself. And of course, this is the first impression that you're going to give the interviewer. So you want to, not mess it up. You don't want to fuck it up. And if you can sound impressive and use a variety of words and phrases in this question, then of course, it's going to be a success. You are going to, well, impress the interviewer. So, shall we go over some of our favorite adjectives?
yeah, let's dive in. Let's start. Let's dive in.
Perfect. Phrasal verb. Lovely.
Yeah, we love them.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. So, here, the best things to say in a job interview. Of course, let me just clarify that. These are the best adjectives, really, that you can use to describe yourself or your work during a job interview. And Chris, I don't know who goes first. Do you know?
I've forgotten. Sorry. No, but if you click, it'll be a surprise for both of us.
Drum roll, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's
Oh, it's
me. It's me.
you. Yeah.
Well, teamwork is vital. It's an essential part of work because if you're not a team player, then you might bring the rest of the team down and you might end up being, a bad apple. A bad apple that might be able to make the other members rotten and ruin the vibe. So, you should always remember to highlight during a job interview that you are a team player, that you thrive in a team environment and you have good teamwork skills. So that's one good thing to say in a job interview, just to stress that you are a team player.
Yeah, I think this is important as well because you mentioned teamwork, but it is a very difficult word to use in a sentence about yourself. For example, as you mentioned, I have teamwork skills
Mhm.
is a way, but it's very, or I value teamwork. But really, for me, the best way to use teamwork to talk about ourselves is to say team player. I'm a team player.
Clay, perfect. So that's the first one. Chris, how about the next one?
So, maybe a very basic English word. Our viewers and listeners might be thinking, oh, that's a really easy word. But as we mentioned previously, business English doesn't need to be some specific different language. Every employer values organization. So for me, this is one of the best things to say in an interview. I am organized. There are slight variations to say this adjective, but I don't want to mention them because maybe they're in the list. But yeah, I think organization and being organized is very important to mention in an interview because no employer wants a chaotic office. No, they want organization. They want you to deliver or hand in, another phrasal verb. They want you to deliver or hand in your projects before the deadline. So yeah, I think organization, I am organized or I am an organized person would be very important to say in an interview.
Chris, are you an organized person?
In job interviews, I say I am, uh, but no. Yeah, no, I think at work, yes, professionally, I'm very organized thanks to technology, Google Calendar on my phone. I'm very organized with my classes, but in my personal life, not so much. What about you?
I'm exactly the same. That's the funny thing because I mentioned I was recording a video earlier, and my video was basically describing different things around my house. And I began by saying, by the way, I'm a little bit messy, I'm a bit untidy. So don't judge me because
Yeah.
I'm organized at work. But when it comes to my own things and clearing up, cleaning, I'm a little bit disorganized, to be honest.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
All right. Oh, and Chris, over to you again.
Yeah, so I did it vice versa to keep it dynamic. That was the logic behind my idea. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if it worked, but anyway.
Very
So
organized, I must say.
very organized again, professionally, yes. Awesome. So yeah, adaptable. Again, I think especially in the modern office or in the modern world in general, I think adaptable is a really important adjective to describe yourself in a job interview. We just had a 5-10 minute conversation about ChatGPT, new technology, being adaptable to be able to change and keep delivering efficient work. This is a really important thing for any job employer. So I think, yeah, saying you're adaptable is a really good way to impress an examiner. Again, maybe for Spanish speakers, adapt, adaptar is muy parecido. Maybe not a very advanced word you were expecting, but it's an important word. It's something I would use in job interviews.
No, for sure. I think it's one that is maybe undervalued at times, that people maybe don't think that being adaptable is so important. But of course, if you're doing a job interview and you're going to start working in a new office, sector, company, and so on and so forth, well, you want to know that this person is going to be able to adapt well to this new surrounding and be able to fit in with the rest of the team, to kind of like cooperate well and to belong in that environment. And for that, you need to be very adaptable.
Perfect.
Now, another thing which is perhaps sometimes a little bit, undervalued or overlooked is being detail oriented, which to be honest, I'm not a very detail oriented person. This, if anything, would be my answer for the typical job interview question. Do you have any weaknesses? Or do you have any areas or aspects that you'd like to work on? Because I don't really focus on the nitty gritty, the little details. Whenever I'm making lesson plans, I'll sometimes make some little mistakes because I don't focus on the details. Sometimes when I'm editing a video, I might also make some mistakes because I don't always focus on the details. But if you say that you are a detail oriented person, it means that you really, really pay attention to these little things to ensure that your project, your work is as perfect and flawless as possible. But yeah, this is something that I need to work on personally.
I'm glad you mentioned the editing the videos because that happens to me as well. Maybe it says on instead of in because my, I and O are next to each other on the keyboard and I miss it because I'm not very detail oriented. So I don't see it when I'm editing it. It publishes on Instagram and then I get a load of people. English teacher doesn't even know the difference between in and on. It's like, oh no.
I mean, I think it's important to strike a nice balance between being a perfectionist and just being able to be, I don't know, consistent and constant and productive. Because, of course, it is an advantage and a strength to be detail oriented. But some people can take that a bit too far and they become too much of a perfectionist. And that can slow them down and make them make less progress than planned. And just one little tip here in English, we always use perfectionist as a noun. Whereas in Spanish, I believe you can use perfectionist as an adjective. Soy perfeccionista, which in English, we always need to say, I'm a perfectionist. Are you a perfectionist? So remember that little detail. Oh, detail oriented. Little
So
detail.
it's, yeah, there you go. Back to you again.
Okay, back to me. It's all making sense now. The last one that I want to focus on is being proactive, which I think having initiative and being proactive is something that a lot of employers really, really appreciate because they don't want to be telling you what you have to do. They don't want to have to be on top of you all the time, kind of checking that you're doing your job. And they want you to take some initiative, you know? And taking initiative is synonymous with being proactive. So I think if you highlight this in a job interview, an interview will think, okay, I like it. Let's see if it's true, of course.
Yeah.
But if you are proactive, then that is a big tick.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, no manager wants to. Well, I say no manager. I don't think many managers want to be looking over your shoulder all day, every day, and constantly answering questions. How do I do this? How do I do this? No, I think they like employees who are proactive, who can find the answer themselves without wasting the time of others.
Fantastic. 100% agree. How about the last one? Hmm.
So the last one is one of my favorite adjectives in a professional environment, and it's driven. I am driven. We can even say I have drive. Yes, the exact same word as the verb conducir, to drive. We can use it as a noun to have drive, which basically means ambition. However, I would maybe add it's kind of ambition and determination put together. To say I have drive or I am driven is a really good way to mix those two adjectives because maybe if you say I'm very ambitious, the interviewer could maybe have some negative views about this. Oh, that means they might not be a team player
Mhm.
because they're very ambitious. They want to succeed themselves. If you say you're very determined, again, that's a great adjective. But to say you're driven, you're ambitious, determined, and ready to work hard, I think it's a great adjective which encompasses, which includes all of these adjectives. So this is one of my favorite words to use in job interviews. I'm very driven. I'm not going to say whether it's true or not. Like I say in job interviews, that's true. What about you? Would you describe yourself as driven?
I mean, I reckon I'm pretty driven. Yeah, I think I'm quite ambitious. I'm quite motivated. I'm quite determined. And of course, everything, there is always a limit for the amount of drive that I have. But overall, I'd say that I'm more driven than the average person.
Yeah.
And on that note, it's true that if you are having an English interview and you say that you are driven, this adjective is quite advanced. It's quite unusual. So it is one that you can use to show off your high business English skills whilst also showing that, well, you're determined ambitious, and motivated. Win win.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think I've even seen drive or driven in this context in Cambridge exams before. As you mentioned, yeah, it's a really good adjective to learn for any exam English or to sound very advanced and professional. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, from there, well, I know one adjective to describe you, and it's, well, funny, silly, and
Thank you.
unusual. And the reason why I say this is because, of course, at the end of every podcast, we need to end with a little pun, a little dad joke, a bad joke. And Chris, you are an expert in this. You are a specialist in this field.
Well, I'm an expert in following Instagram pages that give me the jokes. Yeah, basically. But I thank you very much for the adjectives. I would maybe put silly, then funny, or maybe not even funny, just silly, to be honest. But so we've had a very kind of professional class today.
Then
And now, yeah, just completely turning it on its head to completely change the direction, change the formality. Here is the dad joke for this week. What do you call a Frenchman wearing sandals?
a French
So,
person, a French man wearing sandals.
yeah, specifically a French man. Yeah, what do you call a French man wearing sandals?
Beats me. I've no idea.
Philippe Falop. Philippe Falop. So, yeah, I don't even think that one needs explaining. Chanclas, flip flops, Philippe Falop.
It's good. It's good. I haven't heard this one before. Last week, I already knew it. This time, I was like, hmm?
Yeah,
See, it
yeah.
cracked me up.
That's my aim every week is a new one that you haven't heard and it actually works. Like that's the aim.
Philippe Falop.
Philippe Falop, yeah. So that's it has to be a French man. I don't know many French women called Philippe. Um,
I'm
yeah,
sure
and it
they
has to be
exist.
French because I don't know any English or Spanish people called Philippe. Maybe Felipe, but Felipe it doesn't work. It needs to be Philippe. It has to be to match the sound of the flip. Yeah.
No, no, it's good. I like it. So a little round of applause for Chris with that joke this week. And
Thank you very
next
much.
week, of course, we will be back with a different topic and another dad joke. And I believe, Chris, we're going to speak about phrasal verbs again, aren't we?
I think so. I mean, we love them. Students either love them or hate them, but regardless, they're very, very important. So I think, yeah, it's something we definitely need to talk about.
Perfect. So, well,
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Phrasal verb.
vamos, vamos. So yeah, remember if you use look forward to, always ing or a noun. So you're looking forward to it. You're looking forward to meeting up next week and recording another podcast, and it'll be all related to phrasal verbs, our favorite. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, for watching or listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and if so, leave a like, a comment, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure, Lewis, as always, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
Me too, igualmente. Bye
Awesome,
bye.
mate.